Well, today we're doing a rainy day painting. We're using a local scene. This is near my studio. I composed it with the buildings behind, the equipment in the lower mid-ground, which is going to be the focal area, and street and reflections below that. Not a lot of drawing. Well, maybe in the equipment itself. It's they're unusual shapes and colors, and that's going to be the focal point of this is bright colors against a field of medium strong grays, and in tandem with that we're going to try and create soft edges, painting wet into wet. You saw me apply a wash of water, tinted water, to get things started, and now I'm adding the profile of the building from the rooftops and the right side, which is extending out of view. I'm making use of a graded wash here. It's something we've practiced before, which means that this wash, it's all one wash from top to bottom, from the rooftops to the behind the equipment and behind the workers is all one wash. Burnt sienna, neutral tint, little ultramarine blue, and it's moving from a lighter aspect up on top, which was painted into a wet area, so the edges are going to dry with a sort of soft fuzzy feel to them, and to a darker aspect as it comes down and defines the dump truck and the backhoe. And we're trying to do this all at once. So you see the brushwork is very fast and a lot of blending of colors to get a smooth but strong transition from lighter on top to darker near the center of interest. And we're also going to create some hard edges with this wash. Edges which define the top, the profile of the crew and equipment. And those edges will be important as the painting dries to give us a sense that there's light shimmering on the top, that it's a wet day, and that there's some reflections on top of the equipment. So we're painting the backhoe now. Real opportunity, if you like yellow, to use a strong yellow. I think this is cerulean, maybe with a little bit of cadmium, and I'm using it almost full strength. I really want to get a strong yellow, so no holds barred here. You can use it right out of the tube, and I'm painting that painted surface on the backhoe, following that with a really strong black, so that tells me immediately that this is going to be a center of interest. And I'm trying to define the major components, major shapes of tires, cab, the backhoe, and anything that is kind of prominent. I played with the shapes before I started in the drawing. I extended the backhoe so that it's up in the air. I extended the bed of the truck so it's up in the air, because I think that creates a more dramatic shape than the photograph showed us. And I've been drawing these sorts of shapes for a little while, so I feel comfortable in doing that. If you're doing them for the first time, there'll be definitely some learning curve, and it takes a while to be comfortable drawing these man-made shapes. But you can do it if you practice it. That's the best way to learn these shapes. Well, you can see the color's been extended over the dump truck and over the backhoe, and they register very well against that big graded wash behind. Now I'm painting the reflections into the street, and this is also an embellishment on the photograph that you saw. It wasn't really raining like this. In fact, if it were really raining, as I'm showing, I'm sure the crew wouldn't be out here working. They'd be sitting inside having a coffee and a laugh and getting paid, because they can't work in these conditions. But it does add drama to the scene, and certainly we see sometimes that they're working in these sorts of conditions, and that gives us an opportunity to work with hard edges against soft edges and to realize our center of interest that way. Now you see me returning to the buildings and placing some windows into the wash, which has dried. This is a use of dry brush. The surface is dried, the paper is a little rough, so it gives me a sort of broken finish to the strokes. I'm going back in and I'm going to be, you see I've put darks over my figures and darks over we call them witches' hats. They're the cones which indicate that there's men at work here. Here we start to define with a white. I'm using white right out of the tube, a Chinese white, to paint the helmets that these guys wear. It's very distinctive. They wear these helmets and they wear the bright orange vests, and this is how I'll finish the painting, adding these brighter colors and once more to the reflections.